This is the Fujifilm GFX100RF, and it's a medium format camera with 102 megapixels. 102 megapixels, and it's a fixed lens camera. So you get this compact camera with super high resolution. It's $5,600 US, but it doesn't stand on its own. There are other really luxury market fixed lens cameras like the Leica Q series, and also Sony just came out with the RX1R3, which was about in the same price range. I'm going to go over the features, the build, the specs of this, the fun factor, and more. But first, I want to thank my sponsor, Squarespace, for making this video possible. If you have your own website where you can host your pictures and have galleries, bring your clients there and show off your best photos first, you can make that happen with Squarespace. Go to squarespace.com/Chelsea and use the coupon code Chelsea to get 10% off. Thanks, Squarespace. Let's talk about my very first impressions of this camera. Now, the first thing that I noticed is when I went to lift it up, it was like when you lift up a half-empty milk jug and you think you're really strong. And that's because even though this looks like a pretty big camera, it's made of aluminum, so it's light. It's 1.5 pounds about. The other thing that I noticed is that the styling of this camera is really streamlined and simple. I think it's beautiful, even though it's kind of utilitarian and simple. You notice that there's no flash or anything up here. I think it gives it a timeless, classic look. It's got all of the tactile things that I love about a Fuji camera. So not only is the body milled aluminum, but all of these buttons and dials are as well. And they have a nice texture on them. They click when you turn all of them, which you know I'm a fan of that tactile experience. And this aperture ring clicks as well. It just feels really solid and all of the materials feel nice everywhere that your hand is going to lay. Let's talk a little bit about the specs and the features. You know, it's 102 megapixels, medium format sensor. That's really cool. It has a 35 millimeter f4 lens, but it's actually a 28 millimeter equivalent, so it's pretty wide. When we talk about the lens, it also has a leaf shutter with a built-in neutral density filter that goes up to 4 stops. So the leaf shutter's nice. You get reduced camera shake and things like that because it's not clamping down like a traditional curtain shutter. It's like a more quiet process, and that means you also get sync speeds up to 1/4000th of a second. So that's cool too. Now, I mentioned that it's lightweight. It's about 1.5 pounds. And also it gets 6 frames per second. So not super high frames per second, but I don't really think that this camera was built for that. It has some other interesting features too. So we have dual card slots. Call me out, I don't have 2 cards in there. Sorry about that. And it also has a tilty touchscreen. Tilt and touch. It's a nice feature to have. It has subject detection autofocus, which is nice, so it can lock onto your subjects, and it can even differentiate between like a human, an animal, a bird, a plane. It has multiple different types of subject detection. And also, it has this interesting dial which does the aspect ratio. So if you want to change to like a 1-to-1 ratio or something, you can try that. I'm going to try 16:9 for our thumbnail for the video. That's kind of fun. Oh, also for video, it has 4K 30, and this has a headphone jack for monitoring sound. So if you're into that sort of thing, you're going to be happy. Now, something that I was surprised about is that it does not have IBIS. It doesn't have any image stabilization at all, which you might notice with a medium format sensor. We'll see. I prefer to have IBIS, but it's certainly not a deal breaker, especially when you're doing more contemplative and slow photography. Okay, here's a crazy idea. I do like this camera, but what I'm shooting with right now is the Fuji X100VI, and this is a crazy comparison because this is medium format, this is an APS-C sensor, and it's 40 megapixels, and it's about 1/3 of the price at $2,000. So what the heck am I doing? I want to know in practical terms if you really see that big of a difference once you get your photos on your computer. So I want to take pictures with this. Plus, there's some other features that I really like in this. I mean, it's about 1/2 pound lighter, so it's more compact. Also, it has a flash and an optical viewfinder. It only has 1 card slot, but I didn't load all 2 either because this isn't my professional setup, right? I just kind of want to be fast and on the run. Perhaps you do too. And my most important thing with this is that you get good pictures and it's compact. The battery life is a little bit less in this. I haven't really noticed a difference. And it has better video capability. It has 6K 30, 4K 60. So, but no audio monitoring. So I don't know. I'm not really big into video. Do you care? You'll have to tell me in the comments down below. So let's compare them and see if the results are as drastic in the real world as they are in paper. Let's talk about autofocus for both of these cameras. Now the GFX does have subject detection autofocus, and I thought that it worked pretty well. You can see in these pictures of my dog Pixel, it did track her. It's not excellent at tracking action. It gets 6 frames per second, which I think is, you know, it's adequate for low action things. It's not a sports and wildlife camera, but it did track her. Now, I did notice it had a difficult time locking onto her eye initially, but she is a very difficult subject because she has dark eyes and dark hair around her eyes. So that's kind of a typical struggle. I should have gotten a different dog. That's truly on me. But when we look at these pictures of me coming towards the camera, it was able to lock onto my eye and then pretty much track me the entire time I walked at a reasonable pace towards the camera. And that's a pretty challenging focusing test. So I'd say it's adequate, but not like the most superior autofocusing system you're gonna find. I think it works well for what the camera was made for. The Fuji X100VI does up to 20 frames per second cropped. I didn't do that. I tried 11 frames per second, and yeah, it took 11 frames per second, but they weren't all in focus. And you can see the same thing with Pixel. Again, a difficult subject, not anything to do with her disposition, just her coloring. And it got some of the pictures in focus. I think it's still decent for this application, and it worked better on me, but with 11 frames per second, a lot of the pictures of me were out of focus as I walked towards the camera. So we dropped it down to the 8 frames per second mode, and it actually kept up better with 8 frames per second. So I would rather have more in focus at 8 frames per second than have like 20 frames of just nonsense. I think that they are fairly similar, but I would say that the X100VI has like a little bit better autofocusing system. It doesn't matter which camera you choose. If you want to show off your best photos in the order of your favorite ones and not just chronologically like social media, you should get your own Squarespace website, and you can try it for free. You don't have to remember to cancel or anything. You drag and drop your pictures in. You're going to see them and think, I look pro. I'm going to keep this, and I'm going to use Chelsea's coupon code so she gets credit and Squarespace knows she should be in business. Okay, try it out. Go to squarespace.com/Chelsea and use the coupon code Chelsea to get 10% off. Thanks for trying it, and thanks Squarespace for making these videos possible. Let's get into more testing. Let's talk about image quality, because when you have 102 megapixels versus 40, you want to see what the difference is, and there are no surprises. The GFX has far better image quality, far higher resolution, and even more depth and contrast. The photos just look a lot better, and you can see that in the pictures that I took of my test charts. You can also see that DP Review has this really cool tool that I like to use, and they take a picture of their own chart and you can compare it to all different cameras. The GFX100RF is just incredible by any standards, and that surprises me. I thought because it had the fixed lens you couldn't take off, maybe you couldn't fully appreciate the 102 megapixels, but I compared it on DP Review's comparison with like the Alpha 1, the R5, a bunch of other really high-end cameras that aren't medium format, but they're super high resolution, and it held its own. It still looks very high resolution. Now, when compared to the X100VI, it did blow it away in the test charts. This still has very good image quality, but you can see when you zoom in, things start to get mushier. The resolution just isn't as good. It has the smaller sensor, so things kind of fall apart in low light, but I think it's still a very good and capable camera. Now, you can really utilize the crop modes on this, and you can crop in all the way to 85 millimeters, and with 102 megapixels, you'll still have like 17 megapixels at 85 millimeters. At 70 millimeters, you're still gonna have 25 megapixels versus the 10 megapixels you'd have on the X100VI if you were to crop into about 70 millimeters. So this gives you actually more versatility than the X100VI, because if you need to isolate a subject like I did here, you can crop quite a bit, you can retain a high resolution image and get a different viewpoint than you would have been able to otherwise get. Okay, so I did kind of a sneaky little trick. I took a picture of my dog Pixel with each of these, and I put them on Instagram and had people vote for which one they thought had more megapixels and which one they thought looked better. My theory being that once you got it into a small format, if you're not doing big prints or like using a big screen, you might not really notice the difference. And like about 60-40 people guessed that the picture of Pixel taken with the GFX was the higher megapixel camera, which surprised me. There were some tells. I mean, look at the depth of field. Even though I was shooting the GFX at, I think, f4, there's still more blur. There's still a narrower depth of field. But people seem to really like the Fuji picture better. And really mostly because Pixel just had a cuter expression. Even though I told people to ignore that, I think it kind of gives you some clues on what matters in photography. It's like not the best shot, but she was just kind of making a cute face, and then you kind of ignore that there's nicer blur and a little better resolution with this. That doesn't mean that the resolution doesn't matter. If you're doing big prints, if you're showing off your photos in a place where people see a bigger version of it, like your Squarespace portfolio that you're gonna try, people will definitely notice the difference, and especially if it's a more artful picture. I mean, this is just like a snapshot of my dog. So take that into consideration. It's not gonna ruin your photography if you don't have a 102 megapixel camera. 40 on an APS-C sensor is plenty, but you can tell the difference. Okay, I've hit you with a lot of technical stuff, but I think one of the most important things about these cameras is the fun factor, and they both have it. I've talked a little bit about the tactile experience. They're both clicky, they feel good under hand, they're nicely built, but there's more than just that. The picture profiles are really beautiful, and when I use my X100VI, I'll often just take a picture and then just transfer the JPEG straight to my phone, no editing, because I like the picture profiles that much. And not to mention that they make the experience of using the camera fun with the menus as well. They can be easy and intuitive, especially once you get a little practice at them. It's hard to really add up all of the little things that make them fun, but when you have things with like this little aspect ratio dial and these just little clicky dials that make the whole experience feel like you're connected to your camera, you just enjoy using it more. So who are these cameras for? Well, I actually think that they have a very similar user, someone that wants a compact camera that's easy to bring around, that's fun to use, that feels nice, and that yields beautiful photos. But I think the difference is a few things. I think that if someone wants to do more video, they're gonna like the X100VI. And even though you can monitor audio with the GFX, you're not getting like the 6K 30, you're not getting as many video features as with the X100VI. So definitely more for a video person. Of course, the price is a huge one. There's a big difference between $2,000 and $5,600. So if you're shopping on price alone, I think you're gonna get most of the experience of the GFX at the $2,000 price point, but you're not gonna have that croppability where you still get super high resolution images even when you crop into 50 millimeters. But still, I think it's enough resolution for the average user, especially if you're just posting on your Squarespace website or on your social media. I think that someone who's doing more in studio stuff, big prints, high resolution photos is definitely going to want the GFX100RF. But all in all, I think this is for a person that's going to be doing street photography, or like me, this is the camera that I bring to family functions, vacations, places where I don't want people to be intimidated by like a big professional looking camera. Often people just think this is a film camera when I'm out, and I find that it puts them at ease. I look more laid back than like someone being really serious or professional. So which one would you choose if you had an unlimited budget and money was not an option? Do you still like the X100VI better? I'm curious to hear your takes. If you have either of these cameras, give us some insights in the comments down below. And of course, check out Squarespace. It's really easy to use. I've had mine for a long time. I've set one up for my mom. She does painting. We've set up a couple for drone sites and things like that. It's really easy. It's affordable. Go to squarespace.com/Chelsea and use the coupon code Chelsea to get 10% off. Thanks, Squarespace, and thanks to all of you for watching. If you want to see more videos like this, I do a bunch of reviews. I do newer gear, older gear, some fun stuff, some tutorials. Subscribe, but also hit the notification bell so that YouTube knows that you want to see more videos like this. Thanks.